Orlando Magic, the Milwaukee Bucks, Houston Rockets, Oklahoma City Thunder, Portland Trailblazers, LA Lakers, as Stephanie Reddy reported, all in solidarity, all in unity to decide to postpone their playoff games this afternoon and this evening. Sam, have you ever witnessed anything like this within the league of players having an agenda or something that they wanted to get across, deciding to boycott or postpone games?
No, Chris. I've been around the NBA a long time, watched it for a long time. Never seen or experienced anything like this. It's understandable. You knew, Chris, as well as I knew inside. Once that first game was being canceled, you knew the rest of the games were going to be canceled. There was no way other teams were going to go out there and play once the Milwaukee Bucks and Orlando Magic decided not to play. Look, this is a tough situation for all of us. This is a tough situation for this country. But it's time for good people to stand up and be accounted for. It's that time. There's always time in everyone's life when you have to stand up and raise your hand and be accounted for. You can't stand in the back and be silent. You can't hope and wish this go away. It's not going anywhere. It's not going away. And Chris, maybe it's time for the owners to join the players. You know, you got the most prominent players speaking out, standing up, not just with their voice, but with their money, their time, their energy. Now maybe it's time for some of the owners of these organizations to stand with the players, because at the end of the day, the more powerful people that stand up and say enough's enough, especially older white men, when they start standing up saying our country is better, we deserve to be better than this, we're supposed to treat people better than this. This country was founded for those reasons. People fled Europe because of how they were being treated and settled here on this land that we now call America. So it's time for all the good people to stand up and be accounted for. Raise your hand, because one day you're going to have to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what side of history did you stand on?
Certainly, that's a discussion that's being had right now with the players, and apparently they are going to meet as well. Jamal Murray on his sneakers last night during his epic performance, 42 points. Breonna Taylor, he honored her legacy last night, and today we see him tweet, "We demand justice." Let's go back down to Rebecca Harlow in Orlando. And as reported, there is a meeting with all of the players later on this evening. What's the latest with that situation?
Yes, well, first, I want to bring you guys inside a conversation that I had with Tim Frank. He is the Senior Vice President of Basketball Operations for the NBA. The NBA just released a statement confirming that today's games will be postponed. But what he is saying is that they're hopeful that they are postponed, but not canceled per se. In terms of any details moving forward as to whether or not there will be games tomorrow or the next day, that still is unclear. So this really is a minute-to-minute situation. But for viewers who might be just joining us, I also want to take you back to the events that have happened over the last hour and a half or so. Now, this game should have tipped about an hour and 10 minutes ago. The Orlando Magic came out. They warmed up as though they were going to play, that every intention was that they would be playing this game. It's the Milwaukee Bucks who never took the floor. So as soon as they didn't take the floor, it was at that point that the Orlando Magic left, went back to the locker room. The players are starting to leave. They aren't going to comment. And like you said, there is going to be a meeting tonight about the next steps. And what I am hearing now from various different players, and understandable right now that nobody wants to make specific thoughts known or their names known, there are guys who are considering leaving the bubble. So this is a very serious situation that's happening down in Orlando. But here, just at the arena, it's starting to clear out and get more quiet as the teams are leaving, guys.
When you say there are guys considering leaving the bubble, is there a number of players, I know you can't say their names right now, that have reached out to you and said that? Because that's pretty significant as far as the resumption of play and trying to get the postseason and completed and crowning a champion.
Yeah, no, it's not the majority of players who I have spoken to. It's just a few here and there. who are weighing their options and considering how they want to move forward with this. And I think the bottom line is that there's been a struggle all along, that these players are engaging in basketball games when they feel like there are bigger problems happening in the country, and they're really looking for that systemic change. So the hope is that after they meet tonight, the players discuss what they want to do, that they will come out with some form of action. We'll see what the next steps are. But again, I think there's a lot more talking and conversations that have to happen, because here's the flip side, guys, and something else that you have to consider. If they do stay in the bubble, if they do continue to play, they have a voice here. They have a platform here, and they understand that as well. So everything's still completely up in the air as to next steps, but that's what we know right now.
Some form of action, something we'll pay attention to. Rebecca Harlow, thank you once again. You're doing an excellent job tonight. We appreciate you. Sam, one of the things that she said, guys considering leaving the bubble. Now, as a head coach, if you were faced with this situation, what would your message be to your players right now?
Do what your heart tells you to do. That's all you can tell the players. Do what your heart. You can't sit down and have a conversation about basketball and what it means. This is about what your heart is telling you. Because at the end of the day, all these guys got to go home. They got to go back to their communities. They got to look themselves in the mirror. And man, Chris, I say this all the time. When you've been blessed to play professional sports, or blessed in any entity in life to where you've been successful, there's a tendency sometimes for people to think that you think you are above, you finally arrived. But as black people, we know that. Look, go back, D. Brown. Look what happened to him in a suburb of Boston, looking for a house. I mean, it happens time and time and time again. So I understand where the players are coming from. The only counsel as a coach that you can give them is do with your heart, and that we're going to support you as a coach and as an organization.
Certainly, Sam. And we began our show about 2 hours ago, and it was Jason Tatum and it was Pascal Siakam. Those were the only two players that we had heard from. But yet it seems to have escalated pretty quickly here. But this cannot have been a decision that just came up on a whim. The players must have thought about this for a long time now.
Yeah, Chris, they've been talking about this for a few days now. They didn't just go to bed last night and wake up this morning and decide we may not play. They've been texting, they've been talking, they all down there together. And Chris, this is what's amazing. These guys down there, you see how the games are getting tense. They're exciting. Guys are going hard. But at the end of the day, the players understand this is bigger than them. This is bigger than LeBron James. LeBron James, we talk about his legacy all the time, but LeBron James knows that he wants his legacy to mean more than just being a great basketball player. I tell all the players that come in the league, Chris, when they're young, what do you want to be known as? What do you want people to say about you when you pass on? Do you want them to just talk about what you did on the basketball court? If that's it, you lived a shallow life. But do you want them to talk about what kind of human being you were? What kind of difference you made for others? What you stood up for? What you laid on the line for? So at the end of the day, we all want to be great at what we do, but I want to be, when people talk about me, when they lay me to rest, yeah, the things I did as far as basketball and coaching and things, that's great. That should be about 10 seconds of my eulogy. Hopefully, I've done a lot of other significant things in my life and helped a lot more people than myself, for people to talk about than what I did on the basketball court.
You know, Sam, that's a great point that you make. And when we think about how this day got started, well, think about two All-Stars, 25 and younger, Pascal Siakam of the Toronto Raptors and Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics. They were part of a players-only meeting that really sparked this, but their game was scheduled for Thursday, not tonight. Here they are discussing possibly not starting the second round of the playoffs before the Milwaukee Bucks decided to boycott tonight's first round game.
I mean, I don't really regret a lot of things in my life, you know, to be honest. Like, I think, you know, always things happen for a reason, but definitely things like that happening makes me question it, you know. It makes me question my decision. It makes me, you know, question if this was the right decision or you know, are we really making a change? Are we really doing something meaningful? Like, all those questions just popped up to my head.
People are upset, we're angry, and we're just trying to come together and figure out a way how we can do something. And obviously people are going to say, well, what is sitting out? What is that going to do? Obviously, we sit out, a game or the rest of the playoffs. That we understand how big of an impact that will have. Everybody's going to have to talk about it. Continue to raise awareness. We don't want to just keep playing and forget about what's going on in the outside world, because it's affecting us. It's affecting everybody, and we're more than just basketball players. We're people, and we have these raw emotions and feelings.
There's a thought that for every action, there's an equal reaction. And this is certainly sparked by the shooting of Jacob Blake. So when we look at this situation now and we think back to some of the other names, Breonna Taylor, Elijah McClain, I mean, the list it goes on and on. But for this particular moment, it's Jacob Blake. And unlike so many others, he's still alive. His children were in the car. Sam, as a father, as a grandfather, when you think of that situation, could you imagine having to see a video of like that of maybe your son-in-law? I mean, how would that impact your life as a father and grandfather?
Chris, you just couldn't imagine, man. To watch, can you imagine what those three children saw, to witness their father being shot in the back? The screams, the pain, the blood, the agony, all those things. Shot him 7 times in the back in front of his kids. And Chris, what the players are saying is that enough's enough. Again, I'm going to say this again. We understand basketball is important, but what's going on in America, it's time. Chris, this has been going on. I'm 56 years old, and it's been going on way before I was born. When's enough's enough? When is people going to wake up and just start seeing you as a human being, as an American? Isaiah Thomas said something that is so profound. We're all striving to be great Americans. I get so despondent when I hear Black Americans, Asian Americans. You never hear people say white Americans. They just call them Americans. We are Americans. We fought, we build, we served, we've died. We've answered the call of duty that this country has asked us to do. It's time for us to take our rightful place in this society as equals.
How is this different than kneeling during the national anthem? How is this different than the post-game press conferences we've seen? How is this particular event different?
Chris, when you start to play and then in the middle of playing, you shut it down, that's a huge statement. Do you know what it took for these players to get together and come to that decision to not play? The world is watching. It's been some great basketball being played. But I feel like when you watch their post-game interviews, people, you know how people are. If you don't talk about it, if you don't smack them in the face, then they don't realize it. It just goes away. And I think the players were starting to feel frustrated because they didn't see anything change. Chris, the players are talking about both. People keep saying if we really want to show respect for John Lewis, pass the Voter Rights Act law. Think about that, Chris. Anti-lynching law. Think about that. There's people in the Senate that's holding up legislation for anti-lynching. It's 2020. Now think about that. So when people think that we're overreacting, don't walk a mile. Just come stand in a Black person's shoes and see how you're treated. See how the world of the United States view you. See all the things you have to do to get up in the morning and pump yourself up to go out there and know that 9 out of 10 times you're going to hear the word no. You're just waiting for that one yes and hoping that someone's going to give you a chance based on who you are and your character rather than the color of your skin.
Sam, so the players are having a meeting this evening. What do you believe that their demands will be?
Demands. Chris, I don't think the players, they're demanding equal justice, and they know it's not going to happen tomorrow morning. We're not going to go to bed and wake up in the morning and all the laws are going to be changed and everybody's minds and hearts going to be changed. But it's got to start. And so what the players are asking, when? Who else is going to step up? All right, the players are stepping up. You got coaches stepping up. You got fans. Where are the owners? Where are the people? Where are the general managers? Where everybody got? It's time. This is not about whether you're an NBA owner or NBA player or a coach. This is about good people. This is not about money. This is about, it's time for good people. There's a time in everyone's life where good people have to stand up and answer the roll call. Who are those good people, and are they willing to raise their hand and say, hey, this has got to change. This ain't right. We're better than this as people, as a nation, and as a country.
The players' meeting is set for 8 p.m. tonight. So we should have some sort of understanding of what they're looking for. Here's a statement from the NBA on postponed games. Today, an agreement with the Players Association that in light of the Milwaukee Bucks' decision to not take the floor today for Game 5 against the Orlando Magic, today's 3 games, Bucks versus Magic, Houston Rockets versus OKC, the Lakers-Portland game, have been postponed. Game 5 of each series will be rescheduled. We'll have more on this breaking and developing story next. You're watching Playoff Central Live here on NBA TV.